What happens when youth sports stop being fun? Not for the kids, but for the adults too. In this special three-part series of Car Ride Conversations, I sit down with Justin Boger, a dad, coach, and board member for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, to talk about the heart of youth sports, building character, protecting mental health, and remembering why we started in the first place. We'll unpack everything from handling disrespect on the field to creating mentally healthy teams and even running a tournament built entirely around mental wellness. It's a powerful look at what happens when sports are used the way they were meant to be, to build strong kids and stronger communities. In this first episode with Justin, we'll talk about one moment that every coach and parent can relate to when emotions get the best of us. Justin shares the story of a post-game handshake gone wrong, what it taught him about composure, and how coaches can model the same emotional control that we expect from our players. If you've ever had to bite your tongue after a bad call or a tough loss, this one's for you. Welcome to Car Ride Conversations for Sports Families. I'm your host, Valerie Alston, here to help parents and young athletes spark meaningful dialogue about mental toughness, resilience, and confidence. Whether you're headed to practice, a game, or just running errands around town, this podcast is your go-to for building stronger relationships and lifelong skills, one car ride at a time. Let's dive in. All right. I have a very special guest today, Justin from You Matter Ankeny for Mental Health. We got connected because he found my book and was enjoying what I was doing and wanted to see how I could help out his organization. And then since then, we've continued the conversation, and he had an interesting story come up recently about the adult's fellow coach who was not being a very good sportsman. And so we decided to talk about it as part of the podcast. So welcome, Justin. If you could tell the group who you are.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Excited to be on with you, Val. Thank you. I am a girl dad. I have a couple of awesome kiddos. One of them is a softball player, and I happen to be a coach. So I also have enjoyed hearing from your dad and his perspective
Thanks. Yeah.
as I've been trying to navigate this world on my own. Through that position, I'm also on the board for that specific association. My role on the board is events coordinator, so I help to run three local tournaments here in the area. One of those happens to be the You Matter Ankeny Classic for mental health, and I look forward to talking more about that. That's where we were able to get connected. I also have an opportunity to coach high school level softball. I am on the board for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention Iowa chapter, and also sit on the board for the Fletcher Foundation here in Ankeny as well. All of those are around mental health and support for people going through certain situations in their life. So this idea and concept around both mental wellness, mental health, but also mental strength and mental performance are really centered in my career.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
So we both looking towards helping young people build those skills and abilities that they need to maintain quality mental health throughout their life. So awesome. I thank you so much for being on.
Yeah.
So the initial reason we jumped on this call is Justin and I were texting back and forth, and he was telling me a story of the previous weekend when a coach, I think you said it was the first time ever you've had a coach not shake your hand at the end of the
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
Um,
First time that's ever happened to me. We've had other examples of the unfortunate nature that we have seen in youth sports where either we see some of the youth that are really struggling with some of their emotions and lashing out, or we see, unfortunately, on the other side, the coaches getting a little aggressive or out there, parents and spectators as well, where there seems to be, I don't want to necessarily call it an epidemic, but
yeah.
certainly an issue that we see in the community of the loss of the enjoyment of the sport. And research tells us that, 70% of youth athletes are leaving their chosen sport at the age of 13 because of stress, of issues that they experience with either coaches or family, or they just stop liking what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I feel like some of this has to do with it. So situation presented itself this weekend where there was a tight game, lots of calls going in one direction or another, and it was a bit of an emotionally charged situation, which is fine, and that's what competitive sports are.
Yeah.
We do experience those things, but the tradition of the post-game handshake, where you have an opportunity to celebrate the other team with the players that are coming through the line, with the coaches that are coming through the line, and it's that moment of, oh yeah, this is still just an activity that we're doing for the enjoyment of these kids. It has
Yeah.
no bearing on who we are as human beings. This
Yeah.
is our chance to settle that and be reminded of those simple truths.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, in the line, this particular coach chose to take the hand intentionally immediately over my hand to the next coach, which was, yeah, the first time that's ever happened. I expressed that was unfortunate, which turned into me hearing some verbal insults back, and it felt strange. It felt strange. This was something that was pretty new. I've seen some other instances of coaches slamming marker boards on grounds or the coach that is berating his players directly while play is going on and yelling them intentionally. But this was new. This was new. This was the typical post-game thing where we all settle and just say, great game and keep on going. Good luck.
And they
So
didn't.
it was new. It was new for me.
Yeah. Okay. And what, if you can remind me, what age group is your daughter playing? What are you coaching? When did that happen?
These are 11-year-olds.
11-year-olds. Okay.
Yes.
So to give some context for everybody, an 11-year-old game that in the grand scheme of life has no bearing other
Right.
than
Right.
that day. And this fellow coach who couldn't get beyond his own emotions of losing that game with some contentious calls and basically throwing shade to
Yeah.
you, yeah, as a fellow coach. Experiencing that, did your players notice that at all? Is that something that you talked with them about in sportsmanship? Did you use it as a learning example, or did you just let it go?
Yeah, the players didn't notice it. The players were already through that portion of the line, but my fellow coaches did notice that
Okay.
as I was the first one going through and then they followed afterward.
Yeah.
So we were able to debrief. Those were a few emotional moments. I had a really great coach remind me that this is not a reflection of what we're doing. You can't control this person's actions and whatever choice that she was making at that time, that's not what we're going to be doing moving forward. So take a breath, take a walk, come back when you're ready. Let's refocus and let's move on to the next game. So I really appreciated in that moment that sort of thing happening because that was validating what we are setting as a coaching team, our comrades here, of saying that we understand the purpose, we understand why we're here, and let's try to maintain that.
Okay. Yeah, nice. And so I think that's important for everybody to hear who is a coach of youth sport is that you have your own emotions as you're experiencing the sport, as
Right.
you're interacting with the other adults around the sport, whether that's the umpires, the fellow coaches, and to have your own team remind you, like, hey, this isn't, this is not something that is for us to respond to, that they're having
Yeah.
a moment. Let's let them have it. We don't need to also have our own moment around
Yeah.
that. Yeah. And that can be really hard because it was a slight. They purposefully slighted you. And to
Right.
not take that on as an adult in that experience, be like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the nature of sport. We get so emotionally attached that we can easily forget the reason that we're there.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And the hope is that for all the coaches and parents listening is that the reason you're there is for your kid, to create an experience for your child to grow and develop, have some fun, learn a sport, have an opportunity to be competitive, to be part of a team, and not win games. That's a nice to have, and they pursue winning. That should be the goal, but yeah.
It's very easy to be happy while you're winning. Can
Yes.
you also be happy in defeat? Can you also be appreciative in defeat? Can you also have the ability to tip your cap when someone makes a really great play on you, even though you smoked a ball up the middle?
Yeah.
These are opportunities for us to teach good life lessons that can allow these young athletes to see that softball is so much more than just a sport. It's an opportunity for them to grow as humans.
Yeah. So thinking on that, just more globally, because I know you are also the on the board of the
Yep.
team organization as well that you are a part of. Like, I guess, what is y'all's approach as the organization to make sure that the coaches that are a part of the teams that you're in your organization are leading through character and with core values and treating these kids in ways that is appropriate? Is there things that y'all are doing at the organizational level?
Yeah, so this has been really great. The foundational board members right now are really doing a great job of driving intentionality behind how we bring coaches on, how we support them, the ways in which we promote the more positive aspects of the sport, opportunities to bring them together and
Mhm.
learn from each other. This particular age group, our 11s,
Yeah.
we've been running the age group clinics for the last several years. So we have players all getting together and in different skill levels and learning the same types of things together
Nice.
because ultimately you never know when someone will progress and start getting it,
Yeah.
if you will. The late bloomers that may someday be like,
Yeah.
ah, yeah, there we go. Now I love this sport and I totally am ready to move forward. Eventually, all these kids grow up together. They're in the same school together. They're playing the same sports together. So we really want to emphasize that we're all more of a community. It's not just an individual team fighting for individual values. It's us as a community working together to showcase what this community has to offer, not just with sports, but with the
Nice.
humans that we're uplifting in this
Yeah.
sport of softball.
Awesome.
So we've really been able to do a great job there. But it's also the opportunities that we've had to build the tournaments that we're offering through the
Hmm.
organization, which again goes back to the You Matter Ankeny Classic for mental health.
Yeah.
The board was very supportive of trying this out this last year, and it was wildly successful with so many teams and parties that were coming together to support it.
Yeah.
And that means a lot to me in both the coaching aspect and the parenting aspect, but also in the other roles that I play. So with the
Mhm.
American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, seeing a community-based organization that's not necessarily tied to mental health,
Yeah.
saying, yes, absolutely, we fully support this, that means a lot to me, and I hope that means a lot to our community.
Yeah. And I think so much this day and age, it's almost what we're lacking. There's a lot of polarization with
Hmm.
various things going on in the world. And so reminding people to stick to that community that, hey, we are here to support each other. We're here to push each other, to help each other. And so when you can have a sports organization uplifting an important cause of mental health awareness, that's really important. Yeah. So thinking it, Justin, I like the actual experience of having the coach kind of slight you and all that is definitely a weird thing. Like that. I don't say it's weird because I'm sure that is happening in other
Yeah.
places with other adults. I would say, what would be your one piece of advice to fellow coaches that since you're in the trenches with them, is this your first opportunity to coach with your 11-year-old daughter? Is it, or have you
Uh,
coached
I've
this?
been I've been coaching my kiddo since she was 5. And then I coached some younger kids before that as well. So this is my second go around with youth softball. And yeah, so having about 15 or so years in, and this was the first time that happened. It was very
Okay.
interesting.
So it's a new opportunity for you as a coach.
Yeah, for
Okay,
sure.
that's new. Yeah. All
Yeah,
right.
like how do you handle that situation? How do you not let it turn into what out in social media sometimes where that one little comment begins to snowball into now we got a brawl going on. And so I think you said it well, where even though it could feel like a slight, we have an opportunity to, they're having a moment
Hmm.
and we need to just go ahead and continue on our way and allow them to have their moment. But let's not react to that and let's not turn this into what could be just an unnecessary scene at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. For those of you who are unaware, I have a book, How to Teach Mental Skills. Justin bought it. He was just showing it to me a minute
Yep.
ago. But it's a lot of part of that is when you are a coach, recognizing that you're a human too. You have your own emotions, your own experience while you're coaching your kids, watching your kids play, whatever it is. But if we're attempting to teach our kids emotional control and emotional regulation, then you have to practice it yourself.
Yeah.
You can't expect a kid to know how to deal with failure or deal with big emotions like frustration and anger if you're not modeling it and showing them, okay, take a deep breath, or acknowledging even when you've had a moment where you've maybe overreacted and it's like owning it and being like, all right, kiddos,
Yeah.
that was inappropriate to me. I shouldn't have lashed out. I shouldn't have yelled it at that umpire. I shouldn't have yelled at this other coach. I was having a moment. I'm going to take a breath. I'm going to cool off and I'm going to come back. And so even just showing them how to manage those emotions is important. But yeah, to the point of as adults, like we have to manage our own emotions if we want
Yeah.
this to go well.
And Val, I had that moment this weekend. I don't want to pretend like you said, everyone has these emotions, and in a competitive situation, those emotions can take over in a brief moment. And unfortunately, those brief moments are normally the things that are captured by cameras, by social media, and we don't see the next step. So I had a situation where I was not happy with a call that an umpire made. My initial reaction was, oh, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. No, 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 no. And anytime that I recognize that there is a piece of my behavior that went beyond what I would expect any of my players to react,
Hmm.
my next recourse is I'm going to that umpire immediately after this inning is over and I'm apologizing for the way that I behaved. And I want to ensure that even in those moments, I am talking to my players as well. I made this choice. That was an emotional reaction for me. That was not exactly the best chance that I gave to show my good side. Here's what I did after that happened. And I want to make sure that that's a choice that I made to ensure that this was not me. This was not what I should have done. And I apologize. So I want to make sure that it's heard. This is coaches have these moments
Yeah.
and these things happen. It's what you choose to do when the moment is over or when the moment needs to calm down. That's really where you're showing your players what we expect from them and what we want them to do.
Yeah. And so I think so much coaching can happen, so much growth can happen from us as coaches, as the adults, being vulnerable when we make mistakes
Yes.
and owning it, right? And telling the kid, hey, I'm sorry. I should not have yelled at you like that. Or that was inappropriate behavior towards the umpire. I was angry. It was a questionable call. And I think the more we show kids that we're human too, they can respect that. And they also know I'm safe here because
Mhm.
coach knows when he makes mistakes. I can, when I make a mistake, right, he's gonna respect the fact that I can make mistakes too because he's willing to show that he makes mistakes too. And
Yeah,
that,
you're talking about psychological safety.
yeah, absolutely.
To build up the individual, we need to ensure that they feel like they are in a safe environment. And that I appreciate that. That's a great way to express that.
Yeah. So all things to think about, coaches and parents out there, is that it's okay for you to have human moments. Ideally, you'd like to not
Right.
act inappropriately. That's the goal. But you're human. You're going to have moments. And so it's what you do with those moments, how you talk through them, how you choose to debrief them, and show change behavior. You don't get to just say sorry and then do
Yeah.
it again,
Yeah.
because then
Excellent
that's
point.
not great either. So, yeah, great. Thinking about that as coaches, I think that's such a powerful lesson to learn is own your human moments and use it as a teaching opportunity for your kids.
Yeah.
Before we dive into today's discussion prompts, if you or your team is interested in participating in the You Matter Ankeny Classic for Mental Health, a fast pitch softball tournament, I have linked in the show notes the event page on USSSA as well as Justin's contact information. So if that is something that you are interested in participating in or just getting more information from Justin about the tournament, you can reach out there. And if you listen to episode 3, we'll be talking about the tournament more specifically after this. So stay tuned for more. All right, let's get into some conversation prompts. So, as a reminder, as we dive into the conversation, remember that there are no wrong answers. Take turns talking and listening. Try to minimize your distractions as best as possible. And remember that you can listen to every question and just talk about what's relevant for you, or you can pause after each individual question and discuss it. All right. So let's dive into our questions for today. Have you ever seen a coach, parent, or player lose their cool at a game? And how did it make you feel in that moment, especially for the athlete or parent? This is for both of you. What's it like for you when you have to watch other people lose their cool? Our next question, what are some ways that you can calm yourself down even when you're frustrated by a bad call or maybe a tough play or mistake? What have you found helpful, both parents and coaches and players? What helps calm yourself down? Next question. Why do you think it's important for coaches and parents to admit when they make mistakes? What does that add to you as the athlete? How does that help you? For fellow coaches and parents listening, when your kid's coach makes a mistake and admits it, or as a parent, why is it so important to model maybe you acted inappropriately in the stands? Why would that be so important? All right. Next question. What do you think kids can learn more from? Winning or how adults handle winning and losing? What do you think is the more important thing? And finally, I've got a question for the parents here. What's one emotion that you find hardest to manage when watching your child play? And what do you think you can do to manage it more effectively in the future? And share that. There's actually quite a bit of research this day and age that when parents talk about their own mental journey, mental and emotional journeys of what they're dealing with, it actually helps kids be better self-regulated because their parents are willing to talk about that. It is something that requires regulation. So talk about it. What do you think would help? All right, y'all. Remember to keep those conversations rolling and make those car rides count. Thank you so much for joining me on Car Ride Conversations for Sports Families. If you found this episode helpful, please consider sharing it with somebody in your community, maybe a fellow parent or coach. You can hit the little share button on in the app, whatever wherever you're listening to it, and share this specific episode. If you're looking for more weekly tips, mindset shifts, and conversations to help you and your athletes stay more confident, calm, and clutch, please consider subscribing to my newsletter at www.confidentcalmclutch.com/newsletter. And of course, if there's a topic or something that you're interested in hearing me discuss on these episodes, please feel free to message me directly. There's a link in the show notes, or you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Alston Coaching. And you can always DM me there. All right, y'all. I hope you have an amazing day. We'll see you next time.